Hello and welcome to my full video on are you making a tragic mistake that will keep you grieving forever? And this mistake that we're talking about is tragic mistake number one, believing that time will heal your pain. So the first tragic mistake that keeps people grieving forever is believing that time will heal your pain. I'm sure you've heard that famous saying, time heals all wounds. Well, when it comes to grief, nothing can be further from the truth. And I bet you've already discovered this fact. When time heals a physical injury like a broken leg, time does not heal grief. And in fact, over time, grief may scab over, but underneath the scab is a wound that continues to fester. And no amount of time is ever going to change that fact. And what's more, the longer you remain separated from your loved one, the more you miss him or her, which makes you grieve more over time, not less. So if time can't heal your grief, what can? Reconnecting. So let me explain to you why reconnecting is essential to healing the pain of grief. Whenever we form a deep relationship with another person, we are connecting. Our souls are bonding for eternity. And physical death doesn't end that connection. So let me explain further why death, bodily death, doesn't end our connection with loved ones. Maybe you've heard about the latest quantum physics research proving that 95% of our universe is comprised of dark matter or dark energy, not because it's dark as in evil, but simply because it doesn't reflect light. And maybe you've also heard what Einstein said, that energy can't be destroyed. So what happens when you combine these two truths? What do we have? Here's a short and sweet breakdown for you. When you shed the turtle shell of your physical body, the energy of your soul essence just moves into the dark matter, which is another term for afterlife or heaven. Now, that's why Jean, my husband in spirit, said to me, Jamie, he had a French accent, Jamie, death is an illusion. There's a very thin veil between the realm where you are and the realm where I am. The veil is thinner than you can ever imagine. I'm standing right here. And I have since discovered from thousands of sessions with people just like you that this isn't just true for me. The point is, your loved ones are standing right beside you as well. They're just waiting for you to learn how to open the door of your heart and reconnect with them so that you can finally stop grieving over their loss. Let me give you a story about a woman named Lillian. Her son committed suicide, and she blamed herself for not seeing the signs that he was in a lot of emotional trouble. Time was not fixing her pain. She was getting worse and worse to the point that her grief and guilt was so crippling that she became a sleeping pill addict. And then when the pills didn't work, she combined them with booze. And one day she collapsed and hit her head and had a brain bleed that put her in the hospital. When she was discharged, the they told her she had to go see a Western grief therapist. And that Western therapist told her that she had to let go and move on. Classic Western grief approach. And this advice made her even more depressed. And then she found me. And when she walked into my office, when I first looked at her, I thought she was a battered spouse. Both her eyes and her face were black and blue from the fall she'd taken. And she literally looked like a walking corpse. And in our first session, I guided her to reconnect and begin to dialogue with her son. And in her first dialogue, her son made it clear that there was nothing she could have done to stop his suicide. He had made up his mind that he wanted out of his body, period. And he actually said that his wife, with whom he was experiencing irreconcilable marital conflict, was emotionally castrating him, and he couldn't see any other way to get away from her apart from leaving his body. And his mom confirmed that this was going on. Now, he begged his mom to stop blaming herself and start enjoying her life again. And then he mentioned that he had bought a hammock before he left his body, and he knew that it had arrived at his house. And she confirmed that this was true. I heard him say it. I told her. She confirmed it. And then he told mom to lie in the hammock and relax. And as we continued to dialogue back and forth with her son, her relationship with him became closer and closer. And needless to say, it was the reconnecting with her son that put a stop to mom's endless grief. So my point is, You're not supposed to live in an emotional wasteland separated from those you love, waiting until you quote unquote die and enter heaven, because heaven's all around you. Heaven's here and now. This means you're supposed to reconnect with your loved ones in spirit right now. And reconnecting is the only prescription for ending the endless pain, sadness, and grief that most people get stuck in. Now, in addition to the false belief that time heals pain, beware of another related false belief. You need to grieve, let go, and move on and do it in 6 months. And as I said before, when you form a bond, it's for eternity. And that means time doesn't heal your pain. And it means that in 6 months, you're not going to move on. And in fact, the longer you spend disconnected from your loved one in spirit, the worse your grief gets. There are quite a few other false beliefs and faulty religious teachings that block our reconnecting, like once they're in heaven, they're out of reach, or you have to wait until you quote unquote die to be reunited in heaven. Reconnecting stops them from moving on into the light. Reconnecting holds them back. You can't reconnect once they've reincarnated, yada, yada, yada. We'll talk about these other blocking beliefs and false teachings in future videos. But for now, remember, the first step in eliminating a blocking belief is to become aware of its existence. So I want to close this first video by reminding you that believing that time will heal your pain is going to keep you grieving forever, and reconnecting and staying connected is the only way to heal your grief. So if you're ready to begin your reconnection and healing, click on the link in this video and I will help you get started. See you soon.